The truth is, the past only has power over us if we refuse to let it go. The moment we decide to release our burdens, we step into a lighter, freer, and more fulfilling life. Once, in a monastery, there was a young monk who had recently joined. His past was filled with painful memories, family conflicts, childhood struggles, and lingering disappointments. Even in the tranquility of the monastery, he felt uneasy, as if something was always wrong. He saw problems everywhere, even when none existed. His mind was caught in endless overthinking, turning even the simplest matters into great difficulties. One day, overwhelmed by his thoughts, he approached his master and said, "Master, I am exhausted. My past haunts me. I keep thinking about everything, things that happened long ago, things happening now. I cannot find peace. What should I do?" The master smiled warmly and replied, "Come with me." Leading the young monk outside, he pointed toward a distant hill and said, "Do you see that small hut on top? An old monk, the most senior among us, lives there. Years ago, he left the monastery to meditate in solitude. He holds the answer you seek." Eager for a solution, the young monk asked, "May I go now? I cannot wait any longer." The master nodded, and the young monk set off immediately. He descended the monastery hill and began his journey toward the distant mountain. After a long, exhausting climb, he finally reached the old monk's hut. The old monk was deep in meditation, and the young monk waited patiently. When the elder finally opened his eyes, the young monk bowed and said, "Master, please help me. My mind is filled with painful memories. I cannot let go of the past, and it troubles me every moment. I want to be free from this suffering." The old monk smiled gently and said, "I will give you your answer, but first, let us go to the village below for our midday meal. A disciple has invited us." Feeling hopeful, the young monk agreed. As they prepared to leave, the old monk picked up a large, heavy rock and placed it in front of the young monk. "Carry this with you," he said. The young monk hesitated but obeyed. He lifted the heavy rock onto his shoulder and followed the elder down the mountain. The path was steep and uneven. At first, he believed the rock carried a hidden meaning, so he endured the burden with determination. But soon, his arms ached, his legs trembled, and sweat poured down his face. The weight slowed him down, making each step harder. Meanwhile, the old monk walked ahead with ease, unburdened. The young monk wanted to drop the rock, but he thought, "What if this is part of my lesson? I must endure it." So, he continued, suffering more with every step. By the time they reached the bottom of the mountain, he was utterly exhausted. His body ached and he could barely stand. To his surprise, he saw the old monk sitting peacefully under a tree, smiling. Gasping for breath, the young monk asked, "Master, why are you smiling?" "I am in pain. This rock made my journey unbearable. Please tell me the lesson." The old monk replied gently, "How was your journey?" "Terrible," the young monk admitted. "The rock was too heavy. It made everything difficult." The elder nodded. "Then why didn't you drop it?" The young monk froze. "But you told me to carry it." The old monk smiled again. "I told you to pick it up, but I never said you had to carry it the entire way. You could have dropped it any time, yet you chose to suffer, believing it was necessary." Suddenly, the young monk understood. The old monk continued, "Your journey is like your life. The rock represents your past, your painful memories, regrets, and worries. You have carried them for so long, making your life more difficult. But just like this rock, you can set them down at any moment. The moment you let go, you will feel light and free. Why suffer when you don't have to?" Tears welled in the young monk's eyes. Without hesitation, he let the rock fall to the ground. As it landed, a profound sense of relief washed over him, not just from his shoulders, but from his very soul. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "The past is gone. The only thing keeping it alive is you. Let go and peace will find you." That day, the young monk learned the most valuable lesson of his life. True freedom does not come from holding on, but from letting go. We often carry the weight of our past, our regrets, pain, and disappointments, without realizing that we have the power to release them. Just like the young monk struggled with the rock, we struggle with our burdens, believing they are ours to bear forever. But in reality, the past only has power over us if we keep clinging to it. The moment we decide to release our burdens, we free ourselves from suffering. Life becomes lighter, easier, and more beautiful when we stop holding on to what no longer serves us. Let go and peace will follow.